Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another Decode Tech video and another video in the Python programming series. Well, it's stormy outside right now, so I hope the audio sounds okay in this video. So we're going to try to get through it, and hopefully everything is not distracting and easy to follow. So there are three important components that make up almost all useful programs today, and these three things are input, processing, and output. We've already looked at two of these, processing and output. So the processing was like any arithmetic math equations we did, and then the results being displayed back to the user is the output. But we're missing the third one that is pretty key, and that is input. So how do we get user input into our programs to make them more dynamic and more useful? Well, last week we looked at some built-in functions in Python to convert data types. For example, we had functions to convert from integers to floats, floats to string, or strings to floats, and between the different data types that we need to use. But now we're going to look at another built-in function that allows us to input data into our programs. And remember, a function is just a name of an action with an open and closed parentheses. And that name normally refers to the action it performs. Sometimes it's not quite as obvious as others, but in this case, the one we're going to look at today is very fitting. It's called the input function. So I'm going to open up a file and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go into idle, and I have a basic print statement that says please enter your name. So I want you to input a name, and then on line 2 of the program I have the input function. So it's just the name of the function, open and close parentheses, just like before. So I'm going to go ahead and run this program. So we see the restart is the start of our program, and it says please enter your name. And now if I click down here, I have a little prompt to type my name. I'm going to hit enter, and you see we get 3 little prompts again. That means the program completed and there's no errors. But it didn't do anything with our input. It didn't even print it back out to the display. This right here is just what I typed in. So what if we wanted to do something simple, even just display the result? Well, we already know about the print function, so what if we would wrap the input function with the print function? So I'm going to try that, and remember, for every open parentheses you need a close parentheses. So if you have 2 open, you need 2 close. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and you need to save it first. I'm going to type in my name, and sure enough, it prints out the result to the screen. Alright, but I want to do some more interesting stuff with that in a bit, but right now I want to talk about a shortcut we can be doing. So instead of printing out a separate print statement up here, you can actually put that statement straight into the input function's parentheses. So I'm going to get rid of the outer print just to get rid of any confusion. So I can actually take this, I'm just going to cut the text out and put it in the input, and then we can get rid of the print altogether, and now we only have a 1-line program that does what the 2-line program did. So it's essentially like the input function has a print function built into it. Now I'm going to run it again, and you see it looks the same. I can type in my name and the program ends. This time I didn't even print the result out to the screen. Okay, so I'm going to leave that, and now I'm going to look at a little bit more things we can do with this input. So I'm going to open up input2.py. And now with this program, we have the input function with the text we want displayed when we're getting input, just like before. But now in front of it, this should look familiar by now, I have something in front of it, which is just a variable that I'm storing whatever the result of this equation is, which, as we should know now, is whatever we input into the keyboard. And we're storing that in this variable called name. Then on the second line, we're printing out a pretty complicated looking string. So first of all, we have the string hello, and then there's a comma. Notice the comma is not inside the string, so it won't be displayed to the screen. What this comma does is essentially exactly what the plus symbol does for strings. Remember, the plus symbol concatenates 2 strings, which means joins them together, and they join smack together. The difference with the comma is that it gives you a space in between them. So it's hello, space, whatever the name is, plus, which means this next phrase is going to be smack up against the name, a comma, this comma is inside the quotes, and then space, I hope you enjoy programming. And I think this will make more sense once we run it. So I'm going to go ahead and run the program. I'm going to enter my name. And when I hit enter, it says, "Hello Denver, comma, I hope you enjoy programming." So I'm just going to drag this down a little bit here so you can see better. So we get hello printing here, and then the name with a space in between it. So space Denver. And then we're concatenating this last string, which is comma, I hope you enjoy programming, exclamation point, and that works as well. Let's go and look on some more things we can do with user input. So I'm going to close out of this file, and I have another file here yet, input3.py, and I'm going to right click it and open it with idle again. Now I have something a little different here. I have input, and please enter a number, and I'm storing that into a number variable, or a variable called number. And then I have number **2, which means squared, number squared essentially, or number to the power of 2. And I'm storing that back in result, and then printing out the result on line 3. So essentially, I'm taking a number in, I'm squaring it, and then printing out the squared number. So let's try it. So I'm just going to enter the number 5 and hit enter. Now you see we get this ugly trace back, and it shows you the file name that it's in, and the line it's on, and then the line it thinks it is. And so it's saying type error, so this has to do with the types of data. It's saying unsupported operand types for the exponent operator or POW function, which we'll just ignore for now. But basically this exponent operator has unsupported types. So we have string and int. So we know the 2 is an int, which means number must be a string. And we know we can't do math on a string and an int in this fashion. So let's just see for sure if the number variable is for sure storing a string. And how can we do that? Well, if you remember back to last lesson, we talked about the type function that tells you the type of something. So right up here after number, I'm going to print the type with the type function of number. And make sure you get the right number of parentheses. And so I'm just going to run this now. Now I'm going to enter a number again. And you see we get trace back again, but we got this extra line here. Why is that? Well, Python reads a file from top to bottom, so line 1 and 2 evaluate with no problems, so that runs fine. But then line 3 throws an error, so line 4 does not print out, but we do get line 2 printing here, and it says number is a string. So that's good to note because input always gives you a string. So if you want to do any arithmetic on something, or maybe there's some other type of data you want to work with, you're going to have to do type conversion. Luckily for us, we've worked with type conversion, and we know there's some built-in functions to do just that. So I'm going to get rid of line 2, and now I'm going to convert number to a float, because we don't know if they're going to give us a whole number or a float number, so I'm just going to be safe and convert it to a float first. I'm going to save and run, type in 5 again, and now I get 25.0. Why the 0.0? Because it's a floating point number. But there's another trick you can do. You can also convert the input before the equation you're using it in by wrapping input in the float function. So I'm going to take the float, put it before input, and put an open parentheses before input and a close at the very end. I'm going to get rid of these extra parentheses around number now. And let's try it again, see if we get the same result. Put 5, hit enter, and we still get 25. So it's kind of your preference where you want to do the conversion. It's not necessarily right or wrong, but you can get a lot done in one line if you just convert it up here right away. And then you don't forget later on when you're doing the arithmetic to convert it. All right. So that's all I'm going to talk about as far as user input. Just remember the input function always returns a string. So some actions you want to do on it, you'll probably have to do some conversions first. Now before you go, I do have a homework assignment for you. Well, let's not call it homework. Let's call it a challenge for you, because homework sounds a little bit not fun. So I got a challenge for you. And that's stored in homework.txt. So I'm going to open that up. And so what your homework is going to be is to display a story that the user can be the main character. So in other words, you're going to have a story with a main character, and you're going to have a user be able to input their name, and they will be the main character in the story. So wherever the main character's name appears in the story, their name will appear. So you can either make up your own story, or you can go online and get a little short story, whatever you want, and just, it doesn't really matter. The point is that you get these concepts and you know how to work with them. So I know this is a little bit more challenging, but have fun with it. Try to learn. It can be a really good learning experience. If you get stuck, you can let me know in the comments down below and I can try to help you out. As always, if you liked the video, that'd be great. You could subscribe if you're not already. That would be just totally awesome. And you could also share the video with somebody that might find this useful. Hopefully we see you all in the next video.